One second. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Samara Grace Daniels. It's 7/7 of 2020, and this is your monthly Mother Mary message. Thank you so much for joining in. It's always a delight. And when I see some of my longtime friends online on the Zoom screen, it's just, it's like a party. And for those of us that have been shut in for a while, here in Arizona, I've been shut in for a while. It's just so lovely to feel everybody's energy, and I wish to welcome you to this monthly meeting. Mother Mary and I have been companions now since 1997, when she first visited me, and later that year she asked me to be her messenger. And it has been a wild and wonderful ride, and I wouldn't trade a minute of it. I recently moved back to Arizona from my time in Hawaii, and it's kind of adjusting from super ocean humidity to dry desert. But other than that, life is really good. So I hope you are all well. Each month, Mother Mary delivers a message, and we record that, and it's a video that goes on to both Facebook and YouTube. And then for those of you that are listening in, I shut off the video, and then we have some time to ask personal questions or ask general questions. And so if you're listening to this afterwards at any time you would like to join in, please let us know. My email is samaragrace1111@gmail.com, and my website is www.samaragrace.com. So without further ado, let me just take a moment, close my eyes, and bring in Mother Mary to see how she would lift us up today. All right, well, to all my beloveds, yes, it's hot, hot, hot summer. Yes, the virus is here, and what I want to tell you and offer to you are some very specific guidelines. So first and foremost, hopefully you will stay very well. And secondly, you will be able to help dissolve the frequency that is the virus. You're thinking, wait a minute, I thought the virus was, the virus, and it's being transmitted through droplets from the nose and the mouth and this and that. Well, that's partly true, but everything in your world exists as a frequency. You are a frequency. You are an electrical, magnetic, beautiful frequency. Everything is at a frequency. And so if you think about your own body and your own light and your own life, one of the things to consider is, how's my frequency? Am I showing up happy, content? Am I thinking good thoughts? Am I reading good books? Or am I sort of feeling the energies that are going on in the world that are full of uproar and chaos and blame and challenge and this and that? And how do I stay at a high frequency in the eye of this incredible storm? Well, that's the job. That's what you signed up for. It is to be a sort of the beacon of light and to be well in yourself. You can take as much vitamin C and echinacea and zinc as you like. You can drink all the water you want. You can hide in your room. But if your frequency is not kept at its highest point, you are allowing yourself to more and more come into alignment with the virus, which exists at a frequency that I would call despair, neglect, and apathy. And then we can throw in greed on top of all of that, which is the cause, for the most part, of the disparity between those who have and those who have not in this world. And so, first and foremost, though, if you consider yourself to be a possible antidote and remedy for the virus, which you all are, it is because you can become and you can emanate a higher frequency than the frequency of the virus. You can be the very best kind of first responder. You're responding to a world not in the hospital, not in the doctor's office, but people who are walking through the world right now in a great deal of anxiety and fear and desperation and worry and all of that. And so rather than moving into those frequencies yourself, one of the most urgent and important things you can do is realize, how's my frequency? Yes, you can take your physical temperature, and that's lovely to do, but take your frequency temperature. How is your frequency? The highest frequencies are those that are associated with joy, contentment, compassion, kindness, and hope. So if you're not feeling those, and I understand why in some cases you're not, then the very most important thing you can do, the medicine you can give yourself, is to be compassionate toward yourself, be kind toward yourself, bring yourself whatever joy you can in your life. For many people, that's being out in nature. For some, it is, having a lovely glass of wine. It's going to have a beautiful dinner with luscious friends, such as Samara did so recently with Barbara and her beautiful husband. And what that does is it raises your frequency. It brings you back into this place of hopefulness. It brings you back into a place where being compassionate is natural. It's not a challenge to be that way. And so in this time that we're in, where many of you are sort of being kept at home, so to speak, one of the things to realize is, yes, I have to prepare my food for the day, but what can I prepare? What is the meal that my frequency most requires at this time? For some of you, it might be putting on a funny movie and laughing and watching that. That's perfectly fine. For others, it's music or nature or a lovely meditation. For some of you that miss your friends so much, yes, use Zoom or email or text or whatever, because by raising your frequency back to its natural state of joy and contentment, the virus can't enter that field. It just really can't. So that's the most important thing you can do for yourself. Then once you're sort of buoyed up with your own joy, now it's time to share that dance and that song however you feel to do so. Call a friend. Call a friend and say, how are you? I just watched a beautiful sunset. Whatever is true. Because the reality is, part of the reason the virus is growing so exponentially in certain places is that the fear frequency and the virus frequency are very, very close to each other. And so the way to appease that, certainly do your testing, do your contact tracing, do all those things, but that happens as a result. So moving back into the cause, moving back into the closer field to having it extinguished, is to realize, if I neglect myself, then I put myself in a lower frequency, making it more compatible with the virus. So I must find my joy. I must find a way to be joyful. I must read a wonderful poem, or watch somebody doing a dance or singing, or do that myself. And then when I'm buoyed up, now what I want to do is reach out into the community at large, again, in whatever way is beautiful and safe for you, and offer love, compassion, kindness, and joy. All of the questions about when will it stop, when will when can we go back to school, when we can go back to work, and all of that, it's all very conditioned on not just the behavior of wearing masks and all of that. That's, again, a consequence. We want to go back to the cause. And the cause is global neglect. Global neglect of people, of the planet, of animals, of the air, of the water, etc. Global neglect. And yes, it may have come from China. It doesn't matter. If you don't change the atmosphere and frequency of neglect, it'll just be another one, and another one, and another one. So we're here to really remind you that you have within you the power to be your own medical provider at the moment by shifting your frequency as high as you possibly can. And then by sharing that in whatever ways, again, are happy and fruitful for you. The third thing is to then begin to envision everyone in the world receiving what they have been missing. So first you have to give yourself what you've been missing. Then you offer it to a friend or family member around you, or your beautiful animals, those of you that have pets. And then you expand even further and you envision everyone in the world receiving what they truly want. And now you become sort of a philosopher-physician, a philosopher-physician. So what is it that everyone wants? I'll tell you quite simply. Everyone wants to feel that they matter. That they matter to someone. Everyone wants to feel that they matter to someone, or hopefully to more than just one someone. So is it any surprise that in the nursing homes, it was virulent? Many who are in nursing homes feel like they don't matter. And so again, their frequency, there's no more joy, there's no more sense of hopefulness, there's no sense of being able to be involved in someone else's life in a compassionate and kind way. They feel their bodies getting older and not functioning anymore. They know that their caregivers are doing their very best, but they don't really feel like they matter. And so if you begin to expand this idea that you're envisioning everyone feeling this energy that they do matter, that can then, like sort of a river of hope, flow into then what do we do about the people who don't have food? What do we do about the people who don't have drinking water? What do we do about the people who don't have housing? Because if the frequency of everyone matters, yes, Black Lives Matter, but everyone matters. If that becomes the overriding vision within which everyone begins to operate, there's no longer the withholding of compassion and kindness and resources that can be the remedies for the physical aspects of neglect. Some of you may remember this wonderful movie a few years ago of Erin Brockovich, right? You know. And she did a beautiful job in the movie, Julia Roberts. I bring that to your attention because without her adamant, relentless work, all of those people would still be drinking contaminated water, and many of them would have physical issues and perhaps be dead. So what am I saying? You all have to become roving reporters. Well, yes, in a way, yes. I want you to be roving reporters and look out at who is currently being neglected, that you have the heart to help. Now, we know many of you have the heart to try to help everyone, and that's a little overwhelming right now. But if you look around your community where you live, what we want to challenge you to do is not necessarily to become Erin Brockovich, unless that's in your wheelhouse, but to realize, you know, I could make a difference. And perhaps not only could I don't know, write a check, bring blankets, whatever, but perhaps if I invite my highest self to work with me and envision what would it look like if our PTA or our scout troop adopted that group, what would that look like? So what's happening in the world is that all of you are being invited to see the world through the eyes of joy, but also with the discernment of who is still being neglected. And if that's in my heart and my wheelhouse to help, what are some wonderful ideas? So it's not just me alone trying to write a check, which is lovely, but often doesn't feel as engaging as having a community, whether that's a community of 10 people in your meditation group or 20 people in your community who say, you know what? It's not okay. Because in this atmosphere of neglect that is then treated with a level of apathy, you then have the swinging up of people who abuse power over these people, and the downward spiral of those who are being neglected, who then at some point in time, as you've seen with these recent demonstrations, stand up and say, no more, no more. So I invite each of you to be a kind of roving reporter. And I know many of you are confined to your house, but there's still plenty of news and plenty of opportunities in your communities to say, if there was one portion of humanity close to me that is currently being neglected, which could also be the air, the water, the et cetera, how could I help? And who might I engage with me to demonstrate love in action, to be one of Mary's angels? That is what I'm asking of you, to be one of Mary's angels. And you know, I know it might seem overwhelming right now, but it's not. It's really not. If you just realize the virus here, just like the virus 100 years ago, and in the meantime, HIV and SARS and all the others, they came out of neglect and despair. So if you would like to have the gifts of joy and hope and kindness and compassion, they're yours to give, first to yourself, and then to any and all who you choose to offer them to. It is the remedy energetically. About 2 weeks ago, you know, I told Samara, you know, the virus is not only in the droplets from people's noses and mouths, it's in the air. It's in the air. And what I mean by that, it's in the air that is the breath of life of all of you. And so the remedy is to breathe in light and love, joy and happiness, and to also breathe that out, to give the air that currently contains COVID no place to be. Higher frequencies extinguish lower frequencies. So when you're sad, certainly if you need to cry for a few minutes, we understand that. If you're frustrated, stomp your feet for a few minutes, we understand that. But then say, all right, I'm in charge of my frequency. It's my body, it's my being. I'm in charge of my frequency. So how do I want to live? And then begin to, just like in your refrigerators and your pantries, you put the food that you enjoy. Begin to gather the various things that allow you to raise your frequency, to come back to yourself, to come back to love, to come back to a sense of peace and compassion. Without that, nothing else matters. But once you have that, now you have something to give. Now you can be one of Mary's angels. And what does that mean? It just means to bring hope, a smile, laughter, and love wherever you feel and see someone sad or someone who's been neglected. The last little challenge I'll offer to all of you that like concrete ideas. For many of you, giving the gift of money might seem a little strange, but what I'm going to offer to you is quite simple. Most of you still go out to the grocery store or go out to the corner store or at least go out somewhere. I'm going to invite you to put $22 aside. It's not an amount that should change anyone's life, and perhaps I'm hoping it doesn't make a deficit in your bank account that's too difficult. But set it aside. Have it in your pocket or in a certain compartment in your purse. And when you're out, ask Spirit, ask your higher self, ask your angels, show me someone that would really appreciate this $22. And then watch and see what happens. And when you find someone and you give it to them, just say, my angels told me you were the one today, so bless you, and go on. All of this tragic news that keeps pouring into people's hearts and minds must be offset, not only with your vision of everyone believing and feeling that they matter, but from time to time, give them a little precious something to surprise them. It might be a homeless person, it might be just someone in the grocery store. You might see a struggling mother with her children checking out of the grocery store and worrying about, how many of this or that she had to leave behind. I don't know. But when you say to them, my angels told me you were the one today, I try to give a little bit away each week. Wow. Wow. You've just shown them the true nature of humanity. And so for today, I think that's going to wrap up in just a moment our video portion. But to recap for you, the virus exists at the frequency of apathy, despair, neglect, and greed. To be a medicine man or a medicine woman right now means put your frequency as high as you possibly can at the frequency of joy, well-being, laughter, love, kindness, compassion. And then offer that in your community, in your family, and to the world through any means For many of you, it's prayer, but whatever means all right for you. And then as a little treat, tuck away a little $22 gift. Maybe it's in a lovely little envelope with a card, whatever you feel. And once a week, bless someone. Bless someone. May you all rise in frequency, and may you all be blessed. And may you know that this world and this domain are meant to rise up. And so the first job is for you to rise up. Be well. I love you all. Namaste.